Tom's one of the best dudes I know. And if you want to take one thing away from Tom, if you're just a really good person, then people will engage you for your services. But his credit card processing is incredible. I've worked at tons of credit card processors in the past. I mean, I look at like rates, and that's usually the thing that people will mostly go after. His rates are awesome, so you don't have to worry about that. But it's really the tools that he supplies you with in terms of your over-the-counter collections. You guys hear us talk a ton about that. It just makes this really easy for us to collect money from patients, and that is super important. So that's all I gotta say about Tom. Tom is going to talk about some new things that are coming up, credit card processing. It's something that I don't do right now, so I need to learn more about what Tom is talking about, and I'm excited to learn about. So go ahead, Tom.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Travis, thanks again for inviting me today, for the introduction, for everything. I just want to say one thing. I really appreciate everything that you do for private practice owners. It's really amazing what your whole organization is doing, and it's really, really great to see it. In fact, it's really one of the reasons why I focus specifically on physical therapy, and I have for about the last 8 years, is this a collaborative approach that physical therapists have. Um, you know, I look at the psychology behind the sales process and the people that I'm working with specifically. And one of the things I recognized 10 years ago about physical therapists is everybody's generally kind, right? You're kind, and you're also natural healers, right? So you have this like different approach to your practice than anybody else in the medical space. So I really enjoyed this personality type of the physical therapist, which is why I exclusively work with physical therapists, and I have for the last 8 years. So I just want to say that to say thank you for everything and for the introduction. But
What are you going to teach us, Tom?
what's that?
What are you going to teach us?
Teach us. Okay. So payments. So credit card processing. So what I'm going to talk about today is a topic that keeps coming up over and over again. It's about passing the fees along to your patients and whether or not you can do that. Now, there's kind of two topics within this space to explore. The first is, should you do it? Right. So that's one topic that you have to ask yourself within your practice as to work within your business model. And then the second is can you do it? Right. So legally, is it allowable within your state? So those are kind of the framework that you have to kind of to look at in order to decide if that's the right product for you. But to kind of narrow down the legal aspect first, it's really easy. There's been a lot of changes over the last in the last 4 or 5 years. So 4 or 5 years ago, there were 10 states that would not allow it. So whether you reside in that state or the cardholder resides in that state, you're not allowed to pass the fee along to the patient. So because of that, 10 states, that was a big chunk of the US. A lot of people just said, don't do it. But now we're down to 2 states. So only 2 states strictly prohibit passing the fee along to patients, and that's Massachusetts and Connecticut. So if you reside in those states, then you cannot enable emergent surcharge program. Or if you see patients from that state, you're not able to bill those patients the surcharge. And that's really the only regulation behind it. Other than that, the surcharge program is really simple. It just adds the merchant surcharge fee to the transaction when you're processing the transaction. The cardholder pays the transaction amount plus 3%, which is the surcharge. You receive the original transaction amount. The processor keeps that 3%. So from a merchant cost perspective, your fees are reduced down to 0, and those fees are passed on exclusively to the patient. So that's kind of the legality, the framework. So the other part would be, within your organization, if you want to do that, and that's something that perhaps you can discuss with your team or with other peers to see if that's something that would be beneficial. The last piece is in regards to notification. Each state does have different notification requirements. So some require the specific that they tell you the specific dollar amount of the transaction after the surcharge amount for anything that they're going to buy. Other states simply require that they put the notice at the point of sale when you're taking the transaction. But in any case, notification is kind of the recurring theme that the surcharge is being passed on to your patients. So as long as you're notifying them and you don't reside in those 2 states, the surcharge program could work for you.
So in
So,
terms of notification,
yep.
sorry to cut you off, Tom. In notification, is that something? So I'll give you an example. If we do a grade 5 mobilization on a minor, I've got to have a parent sign that to say that it's okay to do that. Is it?
Yes.
It's like a separate sheet there. Is notification more like on the bottom of the receipt that they it would say that there, or does it have to be a more formal, like verbal, say, hey, just so you know, you're gonna get this surcharge? What does it look like?
Actually, the rule is a notification, which is just basically a sign. So as long as you've got signage saying that you pass the fee along to your patients at 3%, or some states say we pass the fee along not more than what we're billed, something like that. So there is different language for each state. So you do have to check with your state regarding what they specifically are looking for, and then just post that at the point of sale.
Okay, so you've had some practices that you work with implement this program, right?
Most definitely, yes.
Okay, so what feedback have they given you, if any, in terms of like pushback from patients or like best practices when rolling something like this out?
That's a really great question. So this merchant surcharge program has been in place for about 6 months, and we've onboarded only a half dozen accounts. So I really don't have the data, the analytics to give you the answers to that, but that prompts a call to them to see how things are going, and definitely would check in.
Okay. If things I'm thinking are, oh, okay, I just got to put a sign up. I'm going to put a sign up way over in the corner, like behind the plant, so that I got the sign up. And I just immediately is like, well, that's probably not a great idea because what you don't want is from us and a physical therapy perspective, if you have a really good clinic, people are going to give you nasty Google reviews or get upset about something, not usually because of the care, but because of something financial. So it's like they never explained my insurance to me. Everybody listening to this call has done this. So here's the piece of paper that you signed where we explained the insurance to you. I'm not sure you want me to do. Well, I don't know. You said one thing, and it was I called the insurance company. They said something different. Like I don't have control over what the insurance company tells us, and we had so much of that we would call the insurance company, ask for verification. They would just give us somebody else's benefits. And we now we have to have a thing. Here's the benefits, but these are the benefits that they told us when we called at 12:30 yesterday. I
Mhm.
strongly encourage you to go back to your insurance company and talk to them because I don't know if the person that told me what the benefits are the right thing. And it's usually it's like, oh, you said I had a $35 copay, but it's really a $45 copay. So I'm trying to think of for me, it's something that I probably would want to verbally introduce to the patient in some way so that there's no surprise. Because if it was me, and I wasn't notified, I would be like, man, I wish you would have told me that. Like I would have paid cash or I would have paid with some other mode of payment so that I didn't get this additional fee to, what my services are. Even though, I mean, it seems crazy, like 3%. Like most people would not even like notice that. But whenever you mess around with somebody's money, sometimes bad stuff happens. So in terms of when I know this is brand new and it's kind of hard, but any best practices when you do roll this out with a clinic or a practice that you say that you do?
Repeat that question again.
So like any advice that you give, hey, you're going to do this new program, you got to put the sign up. Anything additional to that? Or I'm just trying to I'm making up problems maybe that don't
No,
even
no,
exist.
no.
Like, hey, I just
Actually,
did it. Nobody said anything.
and I really appreciate your outline of the fees being one of the biggest reasons, or financial being one of the reasons for a negative Google review, because this has potential to enter in that category as well. So I
Mhm.
think that the proper communication, I think what you mentioned, like verbal communication, like when as they're processing a transaction, in addition to the state law, right, which is the signage. But like everything you do in your clinic, it's all about communication. It's all about training your front desk staff to say the right things in the right moments, So that would probably just be more of a verbal commitment, with signage being covering your legal aspect.
I think another way to look at it is we have a cancellation policy. We don't hand someone a sheet of paper and ask them to read the cancellation policy and then they sign it because they're not going to read it. We go
Yep.
through and we read the cancellation policy to them, and then we have a highlighted thing where it's like you got to put your initials here to show that I explained this to you. Because if you get mad and they come back to me, and then I'm the person that's going to get in trouble. It's typically it's our tech or aide up front or administrative staff, whoever is explaining this stuff to them, which would be the same thing. For us, it would be an extra section. It's like, hey, just so you know, you're going to get a 3% charge because the credit card companies are trying to take all our money, however you want to phrase that. Well, I have to work on that a little bit. Just yeah.
Sure.
So, but I mean, for the most part, and what's happening is this is becoming more universally adopted, which is going to help us out. Like I'm sure maybe I'm wrong, but I go places where that happens, where they're like, we're adding extra money on because I'm losing money every time you come in here and pay for this good or service, and I'm a small
It's the
business.
cost
And
of convenience, man. Cost of
yeah,
convenience.
yeah,
So, but I have a question if you're finished, or were
yeah,
you
I'm
finishing
done.
another? Okay. So, Tom, I'm not sure. We use you guys. So if are there options within Card Connect that you can do ACH? Like say we have a patient, like copays, we generally just hammer those with their credit card. That's not that big of a deal. But say they have like a big deductible, they're coming in, they've got like a $2,500 payment that they need to take care of. Is there options out there to do ACH versus just running it through a credit card, or is that something we just need to take a check? Or just curious on if there's options out there for some other um, means to collect, I guess.
No, that's a great question. So ACH is something that is pretty popular just because the fees are less traditionally than credit card processing fees. The trouble is, like, the challenge that we've seen is the volume per practice is not enough to meet to cover like the fixed cost of having that account open. So
Okay.
because the transaction activity is relatively low, maybe a few a month or 10 a month. So the transaction activity doesn't warrant the fees that are associated with having the account open. But there are definitely other ACH options out there. Are you with Prompt as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So in this case, a lot of the payment functionality is really driven by your EMR. If you're using integrated payments with your EMR, then really that's your payment system. That's everything you have to use. You may be using some add-on products like online bill pay or text to pay or something like that, but for the most part, everything's going to be part of your EMR. So in that case, if ACH is available through the EMR, then that's a great option. If it's not, then it's really not going to be available. It would be available as a standalone product if that's something you're interested in, but then you're posting payments back into your EMR. So that may not
Right.
make.
Okay, cool.
I also wanted to just add a comment to the 3% number. So this 3% number is actually set by Visa and MasterCard. Okay, so Visa MasterCard looked at the entire market and they overrode every single merchant service provider in the country and said, no, you can't charge more than 3%. That's the max. And so Visa knows, right? So Visa knows what the cost structure is and what a honest profit margin is. And 3% covers that. So my challenge to you now is this: take a look at your merchant statement, look at your fees, and take that number and divide it by your total transaction activity, your total volume for the month, and it'll give you your effective rate for your merchant services fees. If it's over 3%, then you're paying too much for your merchant processing. If it's less than 3%, then you may have room for negotiating a better deal. I don't know, but at least the 3% is a guideline to tell you whether or not you're in the right range of honest merchant service fees.
Okay, so the cost that's getting passed down to the patient on $1,000 bill would be $30, right?
Exactly.
Okay, doesn't seem as unreasonable as I once thought it was. I mean, it's like it's just becoming like the things that we talked about before. Like cost of everything is going up. Like that's not going to help us cover a lot of bills or anything, but it does help out a little bit. And what we're getting paid is going down. I never have any trouble telling a patient that if they really want to sit down and talk to me about it. Like it's
Yeah.
it's getting tough. So I don't think we're going to have a huge issue with that. So I think we need to start at least looking into it.
Sure.
So,
Anybody have?
question. So, for those that are customers of yours, Tom, is this something like it's kind of built into the processing, or is it just like we just tack on if it's $30, we just add like 30 more cents to their bill or whatever the 3% is? That's like very bad math, but
So actually, Card Connect, Card Point, we actually treat the merchant surcharge program as a totally different product. and does require its own merchant ID because it does pass the fee along to 100% of the patients unless those patients reside in one of those two zip codes, or one of those two states, I should say. So it's available as a standalone product. So it's not something that's available to be integrated with any EMR. So it is available as a standalone product, which is kind of one downside. If you're using Prompt with our integrated payments, you're looking at adding payments outside of it and then manually posting payments back into the EMR. So then you have to factor in the cost, the price, the money you're saving in merchant services fees. Does that equate to the time you're adding in reconciling your transactions?
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, any other questions about merchant surcharge or merchant processing in general?
I think it's pretty straightforward. You just have to decide if that's something that you're gonna do. I mean, the only thing I can say is like, I'm upset about that. It says, well, you can pay us cash or you can, pay with a check if that's what you want to do. Most people are not going to do that because it is very convenient. Like one time they come in, they give me their credit card. That's the last time that we have to touch their credit card because we just have it in our system because we use Card Connect. So, um, yeah, that's going to be interesting to
I got
see
a question.
as you get more people that are doing the program, Tom, to see what kind of feedback you get. Go ahead, Lee.
Let me raise my hand just to make
There
it
you, nice job.
official. So kind of to your point on that, what you were just talking about, Tom, is there like a threshold? Like if you're doing like 30,000 a month in credit card payments, is it worth doing the added thing? Or is there kind of a best practices? I know it's just kind of in its infancy at this point, but
Yeah.
if you're only doing like 5K, it's probably not worth doing that. Have you found or made any kind of industry recommendations there?
I really haven't seen this yet. Really, it's been for like the last year. I'm on probably 4 or 5 calls a day, and at least every other day somebody's asking me about merchant surcharge. So that means we're talking maybe 20% of the people I talk to, or maybe 15% the people I talk to are asking about this merchant surcharge program. So it was something that we've had available for about a year, and I just never touched it because I didn't believe that it was a product that people would want. As a
Yeah.
patient, I wasn't sure that I would want to encounter that experience. So really, it was just from my own experience and my own trash in my head. I just never talked about it. And so it was really a few months ago when somebody said, really, I'm switching because I'm going to a merchant surcharge program. And I was like, okay, in that case, let's talk about it, right? And that's really when that's when I realized that the push is really strong for this product. Not only am I getting requests for it every day, but I have people that are actually moving to that specifically. So there's definitely more interest in this, and I think it's going to continue to evolve as more states, make it legal, or at least just deter to the signage. And but we'll see as time will tell, like you said.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, Tom, thanks for your time today. Thanks for everybody for coming. If you're watching this on replay, there's going to be a link somewhere to sign up for next week's classes. Lee, what do we got next week? Now I put you on the spot.
We
You gonna
have
go?
Sharif,
Yeah, Sharif's gonna...
how to squeeze every dime out of your EMR.
How
That
about
was
that?
his topic.
That's a good
And
one.
then I'm just gonna touch on a little bit like how we created our dream practice. Integrated 3 different businesses within our clinic there. So
Some
from
mystery
dust
there.
to dream.
There you go.
Dream clinic, yeah.
Awesome,
Yeah,
guys.
it's
Thanks
gonna
for
be
coming
awesome.
today. And we'll see you next week. And we'll see a bunch of you in Scottsdale with
Thanks,
Tom.
Tom.
You do not
See you
want to
guys.
miss a night out in Scottsdale with Tom. I'm not going to miss it. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks,
It's
Tom.
all booked already.
There we go, man. I'll see you.